Boy, I'm excited about this episode of Leadership Lessons from Mayberry. We've got Matt Starr, the owner of Sideline Power, the leading coaching communication gear company in America. And I'm telling you, you're going to learn all about it. It's fascinating stuff. How about this with Matt Starr? He's knocking on doors at a very tender age in Greenwood, Nebraska, selling the first products to his neighbors and his friends. And it's quite a story because that led him to where he is today. This episode, of course, brought to you, like all the others, by Farmers and Merchants Bank of Ashland. And, of course, our producer, Grace Dunbar, doing a great job. Please enjoy Leadership Lessons from Mayberry. Well, Matt Starr, this is a treat because you're a guy I've known for a long time, and you've created something in Sideline Power that is unique and special. And but it all starts on this show with talking about your Mayberry. You know, we all have our Mayberry. Your Mayberry is Greenwood, Nebraska. I gotta find out, what was it like growing up in Greenwood?
Well, I guess starting at a young age, I grew up with Guy Horn. I had several close friends, Guy Horn and Wade Rosenquist, and I had a good lifestyle growing up. My parents treated me well, and we started a card shop at a young age, and even before that, I even went door to door selling keychains and rocks and stuff like that. So I had the entrepreneur spirit into me. So I took that and I went door to door selling stuff. And
how old were you when you started that?
I was at a young age, like 4 or 5 years old, and my mom's like, "Hey, what are you doing there?" So we all had the same babysitter. Me and Guy did, and we went over there every day, and I just found what I could do, and I went and sold stuff, and that's, growing up, we had the east side versus west side in Greenwood, so we didn't have a whole lot to do there.
Little rivalry.
Yep. We had one gas station, and we had the east side versus west side, and it was very entertaining growing up. We always say all the good athletes came from Greenwood at that time. But
I'm sure the school you were consolidated with in Ashland,
they're going to take correct.
They're going to take umbrage at that. But let me ask you this. I mean, here's what's fascinating to me. Greenwood, for those that don't know, it's a town of about 500 people.
Yeah, very small town.
You're 4 or 5 years old and you're knocking on doors.
Yeah,
I mean, only in a small town.
I may
right?
not have been that young because my mom didn't let me do a whole lot. I hardly could cross the tracks. Like his
sure.
She kept an eye on me pretty good. So like when the lights came on, I had to be home. So it's it was They kept an eye on me pretty good.
Oh, I'm sure they did, but it is a throwback to a different time, right?
Yep.
And in a small community. I'm curious, what's the first thing you remember selling?
I would say keychains. I had my uncle, he gave me some keychains, and it was the old University of Nebraska schedule on it. And I don't know, he gave me probably 5, 10 of them, and I went door to door trying to sell these things. I don't know, maybe for $1, a couple dollars a piece, and I took that money and then I was like, hey, people are buying these things, I have these cool rocks. I could go door to door selling these rocks, and they're just some rocks I found in my driveway. So I went door to door trying to sell these rocks too. So, and every time my uncle came around, he's like, hey, and I had the nickname called Wally. So he's like, hey, Wally, what are you selling today? So every day, I was trying to find something I could go sell. So from a very young age, I had the entrepreneur spirit in me, like, hey, I'm going to start a business. So, me and a couple buddies, probably 12, 13 years old, we started a card shop. His grandparents or his grandma had a garage, and we started a card shop, and we actually went to a lot of card shows and stuff at a very young age too. So.
And you're saying card as in CARD?
Yeah,
okay.
Sports collectibles, yep.
Wonderful. So I got to start there.
Yep.
What was one of the first lessons that you learned? This is all about leadership lessons and business lessons that these entrepreneurs, get. And even at a young age,
yep.
What did you learn early on about selling and the success or failure of it?
Well, not to spend your money on candy, I guess. You got to reinvest that money, because as soon as you got that money, you wouldn't want to spend it on candy and stuff like that. So you got to reinvest that money.
And you would do that. Your
business.
Earnings, you turn it right back into the business.
Yep, exactly. You take that money and you want to go buy something cool, like a new pair of shoes and stuff like that. Well, you got to reinvest that money back into the business instead of back into yourself. So if you reinvest that money back into the business, you're gonna you're going to do good things. You know, I did well selling, but hey, I wasted a lot of that money at an early age. So
what was it when you were so young that drove you? I mean, was it the challenge and the competitiveness of just trying to get someone to buy something and kind of that ego drive? Was it being able to kind of conjure up an idea in a business platform? What was it that really inspired you at that age?
I think it was the challenge, really. I think it was, you know, hey, I sold something. Like, you know, I always had goals, you know, like, hey, I wanted to reach a certain dollar amount each day. So, like, hey, you know, I guess I wasn't very good at fundraising, but I always wanted to put money in my pocket, I guess. I wanted to sell something. You know, I always loved sports cards, you know, even I'd set up in the basement of our parents' house and set up like a table and all my cards and stuff and wanted to sell them there too, even though no one ever came over to my parents' house. But I had a whole cool display. But, you know, I think it was the challenge and the cool display, and it's all about marketing, you know, how you display your products and stuff. But I think it was the challenge of reaching your goals and setting it all out for you.
But what about your discipline as well? Here you are, a young kid, You're making money, and you say, let's reinvest that in the business. I mean, Warren Buffett, first off, would be thrilled to hear this, right? You're investing in you. You didn't go spend the money. So while money was a motivator, it wasn't necessarily for material things, it doesn't sound like.
I spent a lot of that money on myself,
okay.
but I tried reinvesting it back into the business. So that, you know, at an early age, I tried reinvesting back into the business. Even at school, you know, I remember going to buy a box of cards, and I take that box of cards to school, and I'd sell packs of cards to my friends and stuff, and I'd take that money and go buy another box of cards and go sell another box of cards at school and packs and stuff. So, you know, we had a partnership. Me, Wade Rosenquist, and Ross Rosenquist were partners in this business. We called it S&R Collectibles at a very young age, and the three of us went to card shows and stuff. So that was our first business that we had, and you know, I like to say it's a successful business at a very young age.
You talk about the influences of your small town, Mayberry. There's friends, right, and the ability to kind of go out and experiment from a business standpoint. What great lessons early on. Now let's talk about post growing up. You start getting serious, and you end up being involved in a business early on that was really on the cutting edge. And talk a little bit about that endeavor and who ended up buying it.
Well, you know, DSV, I kind of really stumbled upon that job.
And DSV was Digital Sports Video.
That is correct. Yeah. Digital Sports Video. We worked with several big time colleges, you know, Oklahoma State, Tulsa, Boise State, University of Texas. There's several universities that use this, but we had several high schools across the country.
And what was the service you were offering with DSV?
It was really what Huddle offered, but we had our offline software that you downloaded onto a computer base, a computer, because internet really wasn't a thing back then. In the early 2000s. The internet was a thing, but it wasn't as big back then. So they bought the software, they put it on a computer, and then they broke down their video is what they did. So it's what Huddle did, but Huddle took our idea and made it better. Is an online platform is what they do now. But in 2006, you know, I started in 2005, 2006, and worked for them for 5-6 years. And then 2012 or 2011, they ended up buying us out.
And so then, in 2011, you take some time. Where does Sideline Power come from? Where does the idea germinate? Or was there something in between DSV and Sideline Power for you?
It instantly, you know, I was been thinking about this idea for the longest time. Is, you know, we had DSV software. I wanted to get into the hardware business. I had a lot of coaching contacts. You know, I knew a lot of the coaches, you know, working. When I first started at DSV, we only had a few hundred customers, and we had a lot of outside sales reps. And I knew the idea of really marketing myself. I'm not very good at face-to-face sales, but I was very good at email sales. So I could, you know, email was very new at that time. So I was emailing a lot of the coaches and getting my contact out there. Well, I was setting up demos, and it's not face-to-face demos. I was setting up demos, online demos, and that was kind of new at that time. And so I was selling a lot of software. I started a whole new division with DSV. I was at the cutting edge of DSV and setting up all these online demos for our reps, and we selling tons of new schools and adding on new schools, and we built it up from a few hundred customers to several thousand at that time. Well, then Huddle came along in 2011 and bought us out. And at that time, my idea of starting a hardware company from a software company to a hardware company came about. And right as we sold out in 2011, I started a hardware company basically the next day, and it took a couple months to actually get set up, but we came up with Sideline Power.
And by the way, give us a quick synopsis for those that don't know what Sideline Power is. Give us a quick overview of that.
Well, Sideline Power is basically a cutting edge. What we do is we help athletic programs with, we sell end zone cameras, headsets, drones, basically all their technology needs for high school football and college football programs. And it's not necessarily football programs. We sell into other sports as well. Soccer, football, any football, any sport that needs camera systems as well. So we're there for their technology needs. We have a cool coach pad program. When I first started out, we were just headsets only. Now we're into several different products that's just more hardware driven instead of software driven.
So were you looking at the market and saying, look, we know that the proliferation of sports is going to just continue. We know that, this would be a great path to take. I mean, why did you go from software to hardware? Was there a concrete vision you had, or was there another reason?
Well, I had the coaching contacts, so I knew a lot of the coaches. And, the software, there's a lot of support that's involved in it. So when you sell software, you had to do a lot of support with it. So it took a lot of teaching into it. And coaches are not always the easiest to teach into the software part of it. Yes, there is a lot of, you get a lot of return on it. I guess there's a lot of margin into software, but as far as hardware, usually sell it and it's easy turn and go product. But as far as software, there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong with it. You're relying on a lot of stuff. So that's why we went down to the hardware base of, hey, I'm going to sell hardware because all I got to do is just add my margin onto it and turn around and sell it. And it was easy to do.
And here you go. You're working in a job and you say, I'm not going to leave this job yet.
Yep.
I'm going to get this thing going and I'm going to work my job. And I'm going to sell in the base of my home on nights and on weekends. When did you know you had something? How soon in the business were you like, I'm on to something here with Sideline Power?
Well, it started out as kind of like a hobby. I was doing it in the basement of our house, and my wife Jackie, she helped me out. She's a big key of where we are today.
You call her the secret weapon, right, of the business?
She's the secret weapon. We're working nights and testing headsets, and we're having coaches send in headsets. We're buying used headsets, and even our end zone cameras. We didn't know a whole lot about them at the time, but we're learning on stuff. But she's plucking foam. We're making these cases. We're building these kits and stuff. We're at the beginning stages of learning all this stuff, and I figured we're growing. We're starting to learn all this stuff about all this, what's going on. And we knew we had to grow. When our numbers started growing, we're selling, 100,000 a year, and then all of a sudden we're growing to $1 million a year. We knew we had to do something.
And how quick did it take to get there?
It didn't take long at all. The first year we instantly grew. The numbers grew right instantly. So, if you look at, there's no other company out there. There's companies that sell end zone cameras. There's companies that sell headsets. There's companies that sell coach pad stuff. There's companies that sell individual stuff, but there's not one company that sells all the products. There's only one other competitor really that sells something similar to what we do.
And did you know that going in? I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you know going in, Matt, that, hey, we could have a niche here? Or did you stumble on it after you launched it?
I kind of knew it, but I wanted to, with not wanting to invest a whole lot of money into it, and it's just myself, I kind of knew that's the path I wanted to go down. I wanted to go down the hardware path. And actually, when I first started, I was wanting to build websites too. So that was kind of a part I wanted to do, is build websites and the hardware part. Well, the websites took up a lot of manpower and, going back and forth with the coaches and stuff. So we actually sold a few websites building them, because I feel the key of selling a product is you have to have good marketing and have a good look and feel. So if you build good marketing material, it'll sell itself. So I don't care what product you're selling. If you don't have good marketing material, it's not going to sell at all. So that's the key, and I feel like that's where we build ourselves at DSV is we had really good looking marketing material, and that's what I wanted to find, a good marketing person, good graphic person for who was going to build our stuff for my own company. And I designed my own logo, I designed all that stuff, and I wanted to have a good, smooth look. And that was where I started at the ground up and built it from there.
And by the way, your logo is great.
Well, I appreciate it.
Give me some ideas on what motivated you, the red, the black, the white, the way it looks. I mean, how did it hit you, and how did you work through it in your brain to say, this is what that logo should be? A lot of owners out there looking for some help in this area for sure.
I kind of have the marketing mindset in myself, so that's why I feel like I'm a marketing guy. I went to college in sports management, and then I kind of went to University of Nebraska in business management. So I kind of have a little bit of a background in marketing, but I feel like that's my expertise is in marketing. So,
hey, we're going to take a quick break in the show so that you know about Farmers and Merchants Bank of Ashland, the sponsor of Leadership Lessons from Mayberry. Few banks can say they've been around for 139 years, but Farmers and Merchants Bank of Ashland has. Why? Because they are locally owned, locally managed, and they are focused on you. They offer full service business banking, and you're always going to talk to a live person when you give them a call. They're commercial lenders. They are more than happy to share their expertise and to help you navigate any business financing that you may need, including SBA, TIF, or NEDCO financing. Check them out at fmnb.com or give them a call at 402-944-3316. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender. So it just jumped out at you. You like the look.
Yes,
it's kind of a gut thing.
Yes, it's kind of a gut thing.
You've talked so much about marketing.
Yes.
Walk me through it as a business owner. If you could give advice, what would be the advice when it comes to their marketing? What do they need to know?
You got to be diligent on what you spend your money on. There's so much out there. So many people come after you and want to spend your money. You got to be diligent on what you spend your money on. I know people want you to spend it here on print advertising and on social media, SEO, and all this stuff. You gotta see what works. And there's certain things that work and there's certain things that don't work. And it's different markets. So, it depends on what market you're in. I know what works for what our market is. And you could see what works and stuff. And that's the biggest thing is, I don't want to say I'm an expert, but I know kind of what works in our market. And that's why I feel like we're so successful in our market. So
where do you spend your time with marketing when since you know what really works without being overly specific?
Yeah.
Where do you spend your time?
You got to allocate. So, we allocate certain things to going to coaching clinics. We do a little bit in SEO. SEO has been our biggest return on investment. So, in print advertising hasn't worked a whole lot for us. We do a little bit, but not a lot. But SEO has been our biggest return investment. And mass emails, they still work. We do a lot of mass email, and that's where we're generating a lot of our leads. Mm-hmm. So, we know what works and we know what we need to spend our money in. Now, we may be missing something, but right now we know those are the things. Biggest thing is on social media for football coaches. We know Twitter's the biggest thing where we're going to reach those clients at. It's not TikTok or anything like that, but we know we're going to reach the football coaches on Twitter because they're out there trying to recruit. That's who we're targeting. That's who we're going after. And, that's what we tell our sales rep. Hey, if we're going to try reaching these coaches, that's what we need to do.
So fair to say that business owners should be willing to do a little trial and error. I mean, is that how you found it wasn't necessarily pinpointed out of the gate for you, I'm assuming?
No. And when you first start, 10 years ago, Twitter and stuff like that wasn't a thing. You got to grow with it as time goes on. So, we're learning every day too. Different things happen, and as the company grows, we're trying different things as well too. But you can't just spend your money on going to 100 different shows and being on the road and going knocking on every single door and stuff. Otherwise, your company's going to go broke. You gotta be conservative too.
There's always a point in a business where this is it.
Yep.
I mean, you've hit the home run, and it is time. What was that seminal moment for you when you're like, it's time to leave the job, it's time to jump into this, we've got a winner? Was there something that happened? Was there a big client breakthrough?
Not necessarily. we continued to grow. There was no pivotal moment. Like, we just kept adding on different employees. And I was like, hey, we're adding on different employees, but why am I not 100% invested in this? And I am 100% invested in this, but I was working a full-time job and going there. I was even working a part-time job and going there too. So, but I was working nights too. So I thought, hey, why not? Am I not working 100% there full time? So that's when I just decided, hey, I don't need to do this. And I'm a guy that always wants to work, so, but I got a family, and I like spending time with the family too. So,
look, there are so many people who are going to be watching this who say, I'm doing the same thing. I'm getting a little business started, and I'm staying in my full-time job. I'm working on the side. What advice would you give them to say this is the time to leave? Because there are some folks who say, look, just jump in. You got a business idea, jump in, make it happen. There are some who say, no, start on the side, work nights and weekends, build into it. What would be your advice?
It's scary. It definitely is a scary thing to do, and you got to be financially stable to be able to do that and feel comfortable that you're making enough money, because you got employees and stuff that you have to bring in enough income to pay for the employees too, that you're paying their salary, and then plus you're yourself too. So that's why you have to feel comfortable, ready to jump in and stuff. Our business is really, a lot of the income comes in. It's seasonal. So, the schools get their budget really July and August and stuff. So you have to have enough money outlined for the entire year. They don't pay us just, year round. We're not having steady income year round. So really a lot of our money comes in July and August time period. So it's tough, so you have to be ready for that moment to jump in.
One of the other things that happened, not only did you create a niche in your business, which has been extremely successful, you're great at marketing, but some good fortune as well. The sports industry has exploded.
Yeah.
I was talking to a parent the other day who said there are trainers who are making, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a week just training athletes now, high school athletes, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not they go to college. The select sports have exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, the industry, it just continues to get bigger and bigger. Did that surprise you? And did you see that on the horizon in 2012?
See it, but, I'm a big sports fanatic, so, I anticipated it coming. There's a lot of money in sports, and, the budgets keep getting bigger, and that's what we like to hear. We like to see that, because more money is being spent with us. So that's, we don't want it to stop. So we want to continue to keep innovating and coming out with new products that we could kind of keep continuing to help these programs out too.
And of course, you're riding that wave very successfully,
Yes.
which is great, with a great strategy behind it. Now, you'd like to talk a lot. You are on the cutting edge with products. You are innovative.
Yeah.
How do you innovate? So many business owners are saying, help me. I want to know. I want to continue to innovate. I want to keep my company going forward. How do you innovate?
It's tough. It's a tough thing to do, and you never know what's the new thing that's coming out, and you got to stay ahead of the game. I feel like we were the first ones to kind of bring drones into football, and then we were the first ones to bring drone to end zone. We took a drone and put it on an end zone tower, and we call it the drone to end zone. So it's kind of a multi-purpose thing. So they can control their drone and use it for practice, and then put it on top of a tower and use it for the game as well too. So it's kind of a drone to end zone. We're kind of the first ones to do that in the market as well. Kind of hurt our end zone tower sales, but in the turn side of it, we're selling a lot more drones. Our drone business has taken off.
So how do you get there? Because I know there are some folks who say, look, you've got to spend an hour a week in thought. You've got to read. You've got to listen to What is it that you do to kind of get that creative juice going to say, this is where we need to innovate. This is the product we need.
You got to listen to coaches and listen to what their wants are. You got to hear what they want to do and what their needs are. So, I go to a few of these clinics. I don't go to all the clinics, but I go to usually 2 a year, and maybe more, maybe 3, but not a whole lot more. But I usually go to 2 of the main ones, and that's usually the AFCA one and the THSCA one, and I hear what their needs are and stuff. And usually I hear, what our reps say. We have a good culture in our office, and our reps are telling me what these coaches are saying, and I try looking out there and seeing what products are like it. And sometimes I make a good product and innovate a good product, and sometimes I don't. There's stuff that fail that I try bringing to market that we don't sell a whole lot of, and there's sometimes that they're slam dunk. Like basically the drone stuff. We didn't know how long that would work, and now it's taken off. The coach pad. A guy in one of our reps. Keep bringing the idea to us, and we didn't know how it would take off, and we're selling tons of them. That's one of our top products right now.
It really hit me when I heard you say, you fail. Because do you think that's why oftentimes business owners are afraid to innovate? Because they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of either financially
Absolutely.
or from an ego. How can they get over that? Absolutely.
You got to have confidence in yourself. And, there's going to be ups and downs in businesses. You never know what's going to happen. And I always think everything happens for a reason, so if you got that sign and, jump in and give it a try, everything's going to happen for a reason, I feel.
Yeah. One of the other areas that your business stands out, I've had a chance to write an article on your company, and I spent a little time doing some research. Your turnover in your organization is next to zero. I mean, you just don't have people leave you. Why is that?
Well, we tried developing a good culture. I have a laid back atmosphere, it's not an easy atmosphere, but it's a laid back atmosphere. We have fun at work. We work. It's a laid back atmosphere, and we have fun, but we work hard, and we hit numbers, and we have goals and stuff like that. So it's a fun atmosphere, but we work hard. Everybody knows their duty, and everybody contributes, and we have a team atmosphere is how we try contributing as a team.
And you have people that want to work for you too. So, in this today, the number one question I get as a business coach from folks is, I want to find people, I want to keep people, I want to build great teams, right? Because in this labor market, it's hard. So again, how would you say you have placed your company so that people pick up the phone and say, I'd like to come work for you? And people say, I don't ever see myself leaving. So how have you intentionally gone about developing that?
Well, it's not like I hire anybody. I strategically hired certain people. The staff I have. First of all, my wife. She joined us, and it worked out great for our family. She's one of the best employees I got. All our employees are great. But she's one of the key components of our company, and all the other employees I got too. They're great as well. But everybody I have a certain connection with. Our first employee we hired, Mark, I coached for 17 years basketball, and Mark, he actually played basketball for me. So I kind of knew I knew how he was before I hired him on. So he kind of was a good fit for us. I knew when I was going to hire him on, I knew how he was, and I knew what he'd be good at. So that's why I thought he was a good fit for our company, and then a couple of the other employees too. So,
what do they need to be good at? What do you look for?
Well, just depends on what I'm hiring them on for.
Right.
We have different roles and stuff, and I knew I could read a person pretty good, and everybody that I hired on, I kind of put them in a good role I feel like they'd be a good fit for. And so far, I don't think I've missed a whole lot. Even at my previous jobs and stuff, I always feel like I have missed a few times, but for the most part, I feel like everybody that I've hired has been a good fit for us.
Yeah. So there isn't that profile that you look for. I mean, I understand if you're looking for a salesperson, they've got to be able to have that ability to sell.
Exactly.
But across the board, is there a fit that you say, whether they're coming in to be an accountant or sales or working at the front desk, I need this from them?
They got to be a team player for one. We create a team atmosphere. I can't bring in somebody for the sales time, they can't have nothing, and they don't need to know nothing about football. They need to know at least about football and stuff. If they're talking to football coaches, they need to know about football if they're one of our sales reps. So we're looking for somebody to at least know about football and likes football and stuff. So I guess we could, but they have to be a good sales rep. But there is certain people that we're looking for the roles that we have.
You mentioned liking football.
Yeah.
And obviously, for the folks that work out there, there is a passion with sports. Most of them have played it, been involved in some level, high or just at the high school level. But
Yeah.
let's talk about Matt Starr, because you played some sports yourself. How much of a role did playing football, which, by the way, you were running back, talented little running back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You were a tough little point guard as well at Ashland Greenwood. So how much did that affect you from a business perspective? What were the lessons you took from that you brought in the business world?
Well, sports played a big role in my life. I guess I had some great coaches growing up, Coach Anderson, Coach Kingston, and, Brad Jacobson as well, too. So, coaches, I feel like I emphasize anybody that play youth sports, and I feel like that sets a good example. And, Thompson's doing a great job at Ashland Greenwood.
Ryan Thompson, football coach.
Yeah, at Ashland Greenwood. And I feel like sports, it's sets you up for, success in life. And I feel like it teaches you a lot of life lessons too.
Give me one. What's the biggest one you think you pulled out that has helped you?
Well, dedication, it's teamwork. That's kind of what we do in our office is we're a team. We tried being a team. And that's what, as a football team or a basketball team, you're a team there. You got everybody's back. I know, for basketball and stuff, it was the greatest time of my life as being part of that team when we went to state in '95, and in football too. Like I had some of the greatest moments of my life is playing high school and football in high school.
Yeah, and you talked about those two buddies that you grew up with, Guy Horn.
Yep.
And help me with the other.
Wade Rosenquist.
Wade, who's gone on, I think, to a good, solid business, a career as well.
Yep.
And you look back at those days. What was it like growing up in Greenwood, Nebraska? You had these close buddies that you could run around the town with, and yet you're getting these business lessons as well.
Yeah.
That had to be just, when you look back on an idyllic time in your life.
It was a fun time. We had a lot of fun moments together, and they were my best friends, and they still are my best friends, even though we don't talk as much as we used to, but, we had a lot of good times together, and like I said, Wade has gone on, and Guy, he's over at Iowa Central and working there and stuff, and both of them have moved on and have families and stuff, and doing good.
Yeah. And, so you all these sports that you play, did you ever imagine that, look, I want to do something professionally in sports? Was it from your time playing in high school, or did that hit you later on?
Well, I always wanted to do something in sports. In high school, I wanted to be a sports agent. I wanted to play professional basketball,
Yeah.
and then I wanted to be a sports agent. And even when I went to college, I originally went to college, I thought I was going to play basketball, and I was way too small and short and stuff. So then I kept stats for Greg McDermott, which Wayne State.
That's right.
I did a
now
little
Creighton
stats
coach.
for him. Yeah, now the Creighton coach and stuff. And I always wanted to do something in sports. I originally went in elementary ed and quickly switched to wanting to be a sports agent and stuff, and I was like, hey, I want to be a sports agent, and then that quickly switched. I wanted to be something into sports. I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what. So, as soon as I got out of college, I worked for the indoor football team in Lincoln, and that went into, I worked as the director of marketing for U.S. Olympics, U.S. Roller Sports, and did that for a short period of time, and then worked for Game Plan, and then Game Plan was a similar thing as DSV, and that quickly transitioned into DSV recruited me on over there, and I started my own division there, and that led me into where I am today at Sideline Power. So you never know. I feel like everything happens for a reason, and when I started out at the high school sports, it kind of led me into where I am today.
Yeah, I was watching something the other day online that said success is sometimes, when you're highly successful, can be the worst education you can get.
Yeah.
You were not afraid to fail. All of these little trials that you took along the way got you to where you are today. I have to imagine your advice would be willing to experiment.
Absolutely. Be willing to, and don't be scared to fail. I was short, and, I always tried doing everything I can. I'm short, and I was never the most talented. I was never the smartest or anything, but I always tried doing everything I could.
Well, I'm glad to see you put it in present tense as well. When you said I was short, I was like, Matt, did something happen? Because, but listen, I just have loved this so much. But we're going to transition as we wrap this up. to some other questions here to have a little fun with this, all right? Okay. So first question is, as you know, everyone is abuzz with Matt Rule, the football coach at Nebraska. I want to know how many years, if ever, does he get the Huskers back to 6 wins and bowl eligibility? What are your thoughts?
I think he'll do it this year, right away. I think he will get us back.
You're on board.
Yes, I'm on board.
What do you see that give you that?
I just think he already, I feel like he's already kind of turned the program around. Mm-hmm. He's already has the community sold. For one, he's kind of already working with us a little bit. He brought his headsets on out to
no
get
wonder
fixed.
You're sold. Yeah.
So, I foresee him turn the program around to at least get into a bowl game. He's not going to win a national championship, but at least turn the program around I foresee him getting to a bowl game at least.
Beyond X's and O's, what's one thing that he has done that you feel like business leaders of all types could learn from? What's one thing that he's done really, really well in his short term here? He's
sold the community, and I feel like that's a very important thing to do, and I felt like in the past we haven't done that as well. And I feel like he's done a very good job in selling the community and at least getting back to his emails and stuff like that. And I feel like he's going to do well. Hopefully we see good things.
All right, you're a product of the 90s. I want to know, what is the movie in the 90s that you remember seeing that you have to watch at least once every other year? Give me a movie that just stuck out to you in the 90s.
Well, I didn't watch a whole lot of movies, but I always watched Home Alone. It's a Christmas movie. I probably watch that.
How often do you watch that?
About once a year, every Christmas time, or that's probably Home Alone.
I love it. All right, last one. You're home. You get to make whatever pizza you want. You don't have to take anybody else into consideration. What goes on top of that pizza?
Barbecue and chicken. So it's a barbecue chicken pizza.
Look at that. That's pretty healthy.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be for me. So
what would you pick?
Oh, something other. It probably, pepperoni. It's got to be a ton of protein.
Oh, really?
And a ton of cheese. Not many vegetables.
Yeah.
So if it's green, I don't want it on there. So
yeah.
This has been awesome, Matt. I got to tell you, there's so much. First off, your business has just been amazingly successful. What you've done from the basement of your home to where you're at today, and the future looks incredibly bright in a way you have it well positioned. The fact that you have so many people that want to work with you and for you says so much about you as well. So great success, continued success, and thanks a million for coming on the show today.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here.